Hey everybody, this is GGB. We're going to be getting into another bowl game. Normally I give you guys an idea of how I'm doing bowl game wise, but I recorded all the bowl games and I haven't gotten to watching all of them. I know I'm at least 1-0 because I know Ohio beat Georgia Southern, but outside of that, I don't know how my Saturday went for me. So at 1:30 on Monday, we got Western Kentucky, who's 7-5, taking on Old Dominion, who's 6-6. Old Dominion, Western Kentucky favored by 6.5 on ESPN. Austin Reed has gone 288 of 469, thrown for 3,317 yards, 31 touchdowns, 11 interceptions this year. Elijah Youngs had 96 carries for 477 yards and 3 touchdowns. Malachi Corley is at 75 catches for 963 yards and 11 touchdowns. For the Monarchs, Grant Wilson's gone 165 of 290, thrown for 2,026 yards, 16 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Kadarius Callaway has had 78 carries for 594 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Romello Murphy has had 27 catches for 495 yards and 3 touchdowns. Western Kentucky is 6-1 against Old Dominion all time. Last 2 games have gone to Western Kentucky from 2019 to 2021. There's a couple points I want to hit here. I know this isn't a big matchup for a lot of people. This is a massive matchup for me. Getting to see Western Kentucky play Old Dominion. I'm sure you're wondering why I think it's a massive matchup for me personally just to watch this game. And the first football game I've ever watched was Western Kentucky Old Dominion. And it's what started my love of football. First quarterback I've ever watched play football was Mike White, who was the Hilltopper quarterback that year and ended up making it into the pros, which is why I'm just a huge supporter of Mike White. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. Not because I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, or he's even one of the more fun ones to watch, but I just love him because he was the first quarterback I ever watched, and he really sparked my love of football. So, I mean, I root for Western. I love watching Mike White play. Austin Reed, if you don't know, Western Kentucky over the past couple of years has had a pretty good history when it comes to quarterbacks, right? You look at it, you had Mike White a couple years ago. After Mike White was Bailey Zappi, who's now starting for the quarterback for the Patriots. And now it's Austin Reed. Austin Reed was a transfer from my local college, UWF. So that's a really cool thing about it. And I love watching Austin Reed play. He's one of the better group of 5 quarterbacks, if I'm going to be in all honesty. If you want to watch some really good quarterback play, I'd recommend tuning into this game. Austin Reed's going to play probably have a hell of a day. Another thing I love about this game is Old Dominion. I'm a huge Penn State fan. It's not a huge shock to anyone who's been following the channel for a while. It's now my number 2 team, but it was my number 1 team for the longest time. And so I watched Ricky Ronnie coach at Penn State, and I was very happy for him when he got the Old Dominion job. Didn't quite understand it because I didn't think he did a great job as OC, but he's done a good job with this Monarchs program. And one of the best things about this matchup, in my opinion, is about one of the best quarterbacks in Group of 5 in Austin Reed, going against one of the more interesting teams in the Group of 5. Old Dominion's 6-6, but it's a really interesting 6-6 if you look at the schedule, right? They had 2 games that weren't one-possession football games. 2. One against Virginia Tech, one against Liberty. Every other game that they played was a one-possession football game, which made their season extremely exciting and extremely heartbreaking at the same time. You can go back all the way to the Wake Forest game at the beginning of the year, and you can see how crazy this team can be and how interesting this team can be. Old Dominion is a really interesting squad, in my opinion. I love watching Old Dominion play football. I love watching Austin Reed throw the football. There's so many things to like in this matchup. I think this could be a toss-up. I think if you're looking at it, Old Dominion should have not even been here, right? They were 5-6 entering the last week of the season. They were down 21-0 early on Georgia Southern, and then they stormed back and ended up winning an absolute awesome game against Georgia Southern. And it's just that's Old Dominion football for you. They're going to have an interesting game. I think they cap off their season with a nice little exclamation point. I think they get a win in this bowl game. Western Kentucky's had a disappointing season by their standards. 7-5 and not competing in their conference championship is a little bit of a letdown for them. 6-6 was a huge revelation for Old Dominion. I hope Ronnie builds on it next year, but I think they put a nice little exclamation point to the season, giving the Monarchs to win and cover, obviously, because they pull off the upset.